It says, listen and obey, even if an Ethiopian whose head is like a raisin were made your chief.
Yeah.
So, in that particular hadith, the fact that I can understand him saying even if it's an Ethiopian, I could get that part. But why did he think he had to say head like
Again, what does I was trying to figure out myself what that means, that term raisin head.
Yeah.
Like, was it an insult? Was it a slur? Or was it, again, just purely descriptive? Like, I don't know. What do you think? Did you do any research on this?
No, but you should think about it.
Because I've never, in the history of black people, and I'm familiar with all the slurs, like nigger or monkey.
Well, they're new ones, anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So raisin hat is a bit like a new. So I don't know if is that a slur? Do you feel like it's a slur?
Well, no. The thing that I find about it is it's just the fact that you didn't have to say the raisin part.
Yeah.
Because if I said an Ethiopian, people already know what they look like. So my impression of this is that the raisin part was unnecessary.
Yeah. I think it's valid what you're saying here in terms of maybe this term raisin hat. Figuring out why that was said is actually very important to figure out why. I haven't actively done it because my interpretation of it was always, and that's my personal one.
Yeah.
But I'm so detached from the language back then. I don't know, in a cultural sense, what did raisin hat mean? Or was it a slur? If it was a slur,
yeah, I see what you're saying.
Then it's, I don't know, why did you mention that? Like, what's the context of that? But to me, it was always descriptive again. I feel like a slur would be something like, I don't even know what could be a slur back then. Like Arabs, right? They took a lot of pride in their lineage.
Yeah.
Like if you were to say your mother.
Yeah, something about the mother. Yeah,
something like that. I think that would be more of a slur, because there's actually a hadith. There's actually a hadith where someone, and for the longest I had believed that this hadith was against another black person, Bilal.
Right.
So it's a very famous one, and Muslims tend to use this against racism. Because let me tell you something. As a black Muslim, there's unfortunately amongst ourselves people who have anti-black sentiments and are polluted with these ideas that darker is worse, that black is bad. And it's very problematic myself as a black Muslim. And there's a bunch of us black Muslims we fight against this all the time and trying to bring attention to this. And I'm talking to you as a brother here, to let you know, because not many people, you may not know this, but there is this debate going on at the moment where we are bringing up anti-blackness in particular Muslim communities, you know, because they have these ideas about black people that are very strange.
Right.
And it's not even like it's somehow attached to the religion. It's
no. So some of it would be like there's some history involved. Which is part beyond Islam.
For example, my wife's family are from Jamaica, and her mother, my mother-in-law, she used to tell me that when she was younger, there was this Indian guy. I don't think he was Muslim, but he's from that part of the world, right? And she would go into the shop and he would be like, he would sing it out, like, you can't come in, and the rest of her friends could come in.
Oh, stop there.
Yeah, so because apparently she would steal or something like that. So
that used to happen over here.
Right? Well, so that happened to her in London in the 70s.
Right.
When she's growing up in London. And so where does that come from? It's very strange. You will find in Islamic history also that during the 9th century, there was a very deeply problematic literature coming from Islamic scholars.
Yeah, I think I read some of that.
There was this Sanji Revolt. There was a revolt in Iraq. And there was an uprising of slaves, a bit like Spartacus, right? Right. Where the slaves sort of had enough of the bad treatment. It's called Sanji because Sanji is a region in Africa, and there was a predominantly huge high volume of slaves who came from that place. Who were then brought to Iraq. And then when this rebellion started happening, scholars were trying to legitimize the antagonizing and attack against those slaves via religion. So they would adopt things from like the Jewish text, for example. Have you heard of the Curse of Ham? The Curse of Ham.
Yeah, but the curse actually went to Canaan.
Yeah, but
it wasn't to Ham.
Yeah, but some Jews interpret this because, like, apparently Noah was naked, and then 3 of his children came.
Well, no. Ham apparently saw him
naked,
uncovered.
Yeah,
and then the other 2 came backwards and put a cloth over him.
Yeah. So they're saying basically, some Jews believe that upon that, Ham became dark.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
But those things were then adopted by some Muslims.
Right.
And then they start propagating these things. For example, castrate your slave.
Yeah, I heard of that. That happens a lot, man.
Because they are beastly and these type of things. But at the same time, there were respectable Muslims, Ibn Jawzi, for example, he wrote a book in response to these things.
Yeah.
So he was sort of like the Malcolm X of the 9th century.
Right.
He was challenging those beliefs. And this is what I'm trying to say. Like, I just wished, and I can't expect it of everyone, but when you're interested in these topics, to know both sides. Because I try to do that, and I'm trying not to shy away from it. I'm most certainly not going to sit here and say that there aren't problematic texts in Islam.
Right, okay.
But what I would say is that the Quran itself, I haven't come across something yet
Yeah, I don't think there is.
that is... the Quran sort of divides people, if it does, not in tribes or nations per se.
It's according to how they serve Allah.
Yeah, it's more to do with like the internal state of a human being, whether you're a believer or not, a Christian or a Jew, like more in relation to God, right?
Yeah.
To relation to other people. I mean, the Israelites are mentioned in the Quran as well, but then they are sort of like just part of the story.
Yeah.
But the secondary text, that's where there are some very problematic stuff. Do you remember Isa? Isa, the big brother?
Oh, yeah, actually,
who passed away.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he passed away earlier on this year. But he brought to my attention, for example, that amongst the Maliki, there's very deeply problematic texts towards black people. That apparently a black woman doesn't need a guardian to be married off and things like that. So it's very strange stuff. And I'm sort of trying to learn it myself and trying to divorce that from that, you know. But yeah, so I feel like I need to learn a bit more about like the social milieu, and there are certain texts that sort of like academic texts that discuss that, like how were black people viewed, you know, in 7th century Arabia.
Yeah. All right. So I don't know what you because you know what one of the reasons why I sort of looked a little bit into the subject. And it's actually. I don't know if do you look at any of the different Dawah channels like on YouTube? Like look at their videos. Have you noticed that when you look at the people who get to talk in front of the camera, do you find that it's disproportionate? That the representation of Islam isn't being shown by who they put in front of the camera. So do you know, is anything, have you heard anything done to try and fix that? Or?
We have this conversation a lot as well, that, for example, at the moment, during Black History Month, there's this online event going on, obviously because of COVID. We can't have like physical events, but there's this event happening. It's called the Black Muslim Festival.
Right.
And it's about that. So there's a lot of black Muslims in this country. We're currently discussing this, that it's not the representation of Islam is not disproportionate, like you were saying. Recently, I don't know if you came across, there's British Got Talent, you know, the show.
Oh yeah, I've heard of it.
There is a black Muslim at the moment who is a comedian by the name of Nabil.
Right.
He made it to the finals.
Okay.
So this is something that a lot of black Muslims have sort of championed.
Right.
Because now he is someone who's changing the narrative. Because like one of his first gigs when he was on stage was about that. It was about yes, my name is not Jermaine, my name is Nabil Abdul Rashid and I'm a Muslim.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's more of us and there's clearly a misrepresentation on who gets to speak and who doesn't.
Yeah, and I was going to say that this is the interesting thing I noticed is that, there's the channel Content Over Everything.
Yeah.
He's the one who used to give like the Muslim brothers more say than all the other. And I just.
And that has a reason, right? There's a reason behind that, isn't it?
Yeah. So I just thought that with them trying to make things more even. I thought because even like when I look at you on the. Because I've seen you talk with some people, but it's like you don't appear as much on the camera as I see you talking.
There's a couple of videos. There's a lot of videos we've recorded, and I'm gonna ask them to push them out. Like, I did an interview today, brilliant.
Yeah.
But like, I agree with what you're saying. We have to do more, and there has to be more of us.
Yeah.
So that it just because a lot of like even Ali knows this. A lot of the conversation when it came to like the debates with Sara, like about 3 4 years, I believe that it would have gone much more smoother if there was a black Muslim who was not self-hating, who was not sort of like pandering towards a football team, if you like. You can be Muslim, but that doesn't mean that you have to be injustice. If someone like Sara brings up something that is true, I found that a lot of Muslims tend to sort of like, just because they don't want to look like, they themselves don't want to look bad, it's nothing, trust me, it's nothing to do with the religion. Most of the times it's themselves.
Yes, it's the same.
I don't want to look like a dumb person because I support Islam.
Yeah.
Therefore, I must not agree with him, even if it's true.
Yeah.
Some of them don't even have the emotional intelligence or experience to understand what it is to be a black Muslim. My challenges are totally different. And I feel like someone like Ali has always sort of like had a good understanding of that. And I believe those conversations, including Kalam, were sort of butchered because of that, because it was just the wrong people talking to each other.
Yeah, because I remember what a lot. This from a while ago when it was Muhammad Hijab was trying to talk to Sara, and you could tell that there was a bit of a superiority from Hijab in the way he was talking to him, and that meant you weren't having like a really nice discussion.
Yeah, there's one video myself, Ali, and the late Isa.
Yeah.
We condemn Muhammad Hijab and his actions when he was attacking Jedi. I was totally against that.
Oh, yeah. The fight, you mean? Yeah.
I was totally against that, and I told him that day. In fact, when I was here when it happened, I grabbed Hijab, and Hijab did this to me. So, and we had these conversations before. I believe it was wrong. I mean, until this day, and they know this. Who was the other brother who was there? So, Abdul Hamid. Abdul Hamid, you know the.
Big guy.
Yeah, I told him that.
I watched your videos. I watched your videos.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I'm Christian, but I just like to have nice conversations.
Listen, we really promote this I had enough of this like debate, and I had enough, not with debate, but I had enough of this football team mentality.
Yeah.
Like West Ham versus whatever.
Well, like when you get the crowds, like
I mean, it's part of speak. It has become part of Speaker's Corners, fair enough. But there has to be an alternative. And those concerns that you brought up. Next week I will be here. Like, just come up on the video and you can discuss them.
All right.
Because I feel like it's very powerful to see that what you want to see. Like, there has to be more balance in all of this,
Yeah.
And it can't just be dominated by like certain voices who just simply lack perspective.
Yeah, because I think what happens is because of the way they do things is that they have certain fans. So obviously it pleases their fans, but then there's going to be people who are not their fans, and those people might get marginalised a bit by only seeing those like particular people getting most of the limelight.
I agree. But yeah, it's been nice talking to you.
All right, yeah.
Next week, come along.
All right, what time do you get here?
Around 3 o'clock usually.
Yeah, all right. I'll see. Yeah, I'll see if I can get there. All right. Okay, so this is just a quick addition to the recording that I've just played. And this is just showing you what it's like with these actual Dawah channels that are at Speaker's Corner. So first I'll show you the ones which are biased towards the light side. So the first one I'm going to actually go to is Sam Darwiser. He's been around a while. So as you notice, the important thing is who he chooses to to record on the Muslim side. So if we scroll through, we can see all the usual sort of people there who he's using. And you might occasionally find there's some dark skins who he's speaking to. So they don't mind having their people speaking to someone with a dark skin. But what you'll find they don't like is when it's actually someone with a dark skin who's doing the actual speaking themselves. So let's scroll through. There's not too long. So you're speaking to. Yeah, so speaking to. And so you see all the rest. See that person. Actually, I think this is actually one guy to make it as a change. He's actually got dark skin, which is amazing. But let's keep going. So you see it's mostly speaking. The ones who are speaking are essentially their people. So let's just keep going and see if you can find any speakers with or on their side who've got dark skin. So if we keep scrolling, so I'm only going to go a maximum of a year because it just takes too long otherwise. But if you want to just pause each page, you can just pause it. But as you can see, for sure, Sam Dawah, he prefers not to see too many dark skins, in the people who are actually doing on the Muslim side. So yeah, there'll be the occasional dark skinned person they speak to, but the actual speakers themselves must be of the either Pakistani, Arab, or I don't know, usually Egyptian or any North African origin. So as you see, it's just same old faces keep showing up, or up to 9 months. So if he wasn't, so if they weren't racially biased, then you see a lot more of the darker skinned brothers actually doing the actual talking, rather than the odd one or two who's only being interviewed but not actually talking. So it should be obvious from looking at this that they prefer their people to be the ones. Alright, so that's a year, so let's give up on that. So I'm just going to close the window just to save memory. So next one is SC Dawah. So let's see if these guys are any better. So you're going to scroll through. So remember, we're looking for the actual speaker being someone with dark skins. And it would even be nice if they spoke to a few people with dark skins apart from the obvious ones. But, you can see that it's not something that they're that conducive to. So I'm going to scroll through. So remember, what we're looking for is a reduction in light complexions coming up in the thumbnails. And as you can see, as we scroll through that, it's just not happening. So that's 6 months. So we'll just do a year, because if you really think that after a year, suddenly they're going to change, and the year before, it's just all people with dark skins, I think you'll find that that is not the case. Alright, so let's keep going until we get to a year, and as you can see, as expected, it's just their people again. Almost as if they think that they're the ones who should be pushing Islam, and that we're just not clever enough to understand how to bring Islam to people, even though I'm not a Muslim. Alright, so that's a year, so we can give up on that one. So let's try the next one, which is SF Dawah. So we scroll through here and see again, very light. You're just not gonna, yeah, there'd be some Christians who they're speaking to, but that's about it. So as you can see, there's a hard bias in the people they want to actually speak on the Muslim side, or in the Muslims that they choose to actually film speaking to other people. And even the bias in the people they speak to as well. This is the only brother I know who they've given a couple. I mean, you only see him once if you're lucky, once or twice if you're lucky, and that's it. And it could be just because they didn't have many people to choose on that day, so that's why they chose him. But once they have all their guys there, then he's not going to get chosen. Alright, so let's keep going. Yeah, and Muhammad Lamin, he's a good speaker, but they don't even seem to bother with him most of the time either. But I remember they used to use him more before, but now it's like they're just not really interested. So as you see, so we're going through, seeing you can see who their favorite speakers are to speak on the Muslim side. So that's 1 year for these guys. So let's forget that. So now what you'd think, okay, maybe there aren't many dark-skinned people at Speaker's Corner, and these guys, they just can't find anyone intellectual with dark skin to speak to. So let's see if that's the case. So now let's go to content over everything. So these guys have been around a while. And the interesting thing is, actually, let me do this in reverse order because you'll notice something about content over everything. Alright, see, that's a year ago. And, okay, admittedly, top striker, it seems like he's more biased, actually. Yeah, I don't think they're not seeing enough people to make a good judgment. So let's go to the actual real big content over everything site. And you notice that towards the end, they seem to have even given up on our guys as well. Almost as if, he's, because you can see content over everything, he seems to have given up, which is a shame. And the reason why I say it's a shame, because if you scroll down and keep going, you'll notice that once these guys are out of the way, you're right. So now we're going to get where things get a bit more darker. You'll notice that content over everything, he actually, well, sometimes he'll yeah, I think as we get further away, you'll notice that he will speak. Yeah, see now here, look, everyone. Let's see in that picture. Well, most of them have got dark skin there, so that's a big difference now. So now we're starting to see things. Yeah, look at that. See, this is more like it. So you can see that content over everything. They're not biased. So he will actually speak to people regardless of what the skin color is. He evenly distributes, pretty much about how things are in Speaker's Corner. So this gives you a kind of reasonable sort of view of the kinds of people that go down there, because he doesn't have that sort of bias. And that's why it's a shame that he's not there anymore, because of course now that the bias is, you can see it, where those other channels I showed you where it's just mostly dark skin. You see how there's such a big difference with content over everything? As you can see, there's a lot more darkness showing up than in the other channels, but he's not specifically a Muslim channel, admittedly. But now, to find out how things are, let's go to some Muslims. So this next one, this is Somali Corners. So now these guys are Somalians, so obviously they're Muslim, as you can see. And guess what? Suddenly everything let's see. Yes, if you just look at the Speaker's Corner one, look, it's just dark. So whenever they're, actually, I think this one's a bit new though. So the best one is actually this one, because this is actually about Speaker's Corner. And so now, as you can see, the Somalis, they're not as biased in who they will speak to. And of course, all their guys who are speaking are going to be the darker skinned people, which you'd expect. So what this shows you, but actually, I think, yeah, see, these guys are a bit new though. So even though they do have some Speaker's Corner videos, they don't have enough. So unfortunately, what that shows is that our people don't have as much representation at Speaker's Corner. And, the channels are don't even really seem that interested. And I have to admit that even when I'm doing videos, I will try to speak to some of the Muslim darker skinned brothers when I'm down there. But the unfortunate thing I've noticed also is that they're actually hard to find. So I've just ended up speaking to a few Muslims who, I know I can have decent conversations with. But the one thing I'm not trying to do is to desperately find people to speak to, just to try and push like a set agenda. But one thing I'll say for sure is I think more of our people need to be down here and actually speaking and actually showing that we actually do have something to say, and that it's not just the sort of lighter skinned people who are the ones who are running things down there.
Israelites will return to take down Islam.